everyone, and welcome to episode 42 of the Sprue. In this one I'll continue detailing the turret interior of the M1 Abrams from a Ryefield model. Now you'll remember way back in video 39 we started the process of building the M1's turret. I did some weathering, some detailing, and in this video I'll be continuing the process of adding small details to the inside of that turret. So in this video we'll first be painting and detailing the seats, the crew seats. I'll be applying a pin wash to the turret lower, some of the details there, and finally we will be painting and detailing the control panels as well as the two radios. So let's get started. Now the bulk of the turret lower, such as the floor and some of the other details, has been painted and added, and we can now continue. These are the crew seats already assembled. This is the loader seat, and I've also prepared the control panels, the various bits of instrumentation inside the turret. The seats themselves are covered in a black vinyl type material, and to paint this I'll be using NATO black. After having masked the necessary areas, I used the airbrush and laid down the NATO black base color. Some touching up is required after the masking tape has been removed. This is done by brush. This is the result, the painted seats, and we can go ahead and add some more detail to them. I'll be using two colors, the first being dark gray and neutral gray. And just to add some wear to the seat, I'm going to airbrush in some of the dark green to the center seat sections. Just a very subtle color change. Next I'm going to use the neutral gray, and this I'm going to dry brush. Now you know my dry brushing procedure by now. I use some cash register paper and then also my special dry brush to apply some paint to the very edges of the seats. The trick, of course, being to have as little as possible paint on these on the bristles. And you can already see there's the somewhat worn vinyl covering on the seat. Certainly happy with that. Next I started to prepare the turret lower, and the first step, of course, being to apply a black primer coat. I also started pre-shading the instrumentation, and this is a technique well known to aircraft modelers, something that I've used in the past. Basically laying down some white over the black, and over this, of course, we'll be applying the base color. This is the instrumentation. I've done a similar pre-shading on that, as well as some of the seats. And I can now proceed and lay down the insignia white base color over this. This is the result. The two lower portions of the turret have been fitted together, and certainly happy with the results. The seats are also in. With the seats fitted and the main gun also in position, I can now move on and add some additional small details to the turret interior. If you look carefully at these reference pictures of the instrumentation inside the turret, you can see that the face plates are all aluminium. They are a different color than the white interior of the turret. And I also found some reference pictures and some wiring information on the tactical radio. There's two of them inside the M1's turret. With the radios, I first started by masking off the white sections in order to paint the radios green. The color I'll be using is dark olive green. This is, of course, from Vallejo. I now carefully airbrush the color onto the radio's faces. There we go. That's the result. Just to add a little bit of color contrast, I'm adding some faded olive drab from AK Real Colors, and this is carefully spray painted onto the center section of each of those radios, just to add a little bit of color differentiation. Next, I need to add a pin wash, and the very first step that I usually leave out in these videos is to, of course, cover the surfaces with a strong varnish. In this case, I'm using micro satin from Microscale. Once the varnish has been applied, I can start with the first wash color, this being neutral wash from M1A1. And because this is enamel, it can be thinned with odorless thinner. Now the thin down wash mixture is applied with a brush onto all those bolts that you see inside the turret lower, as well as the instrumentation that you see there. It certainly makes a big difference on instrument panels like these, similar to aircraft canopies, aircraft cockpits, where you're doing the same. Next, I'm going to use dark wash, also from M1A1, and the darker color is applied to the radios, just to differentiate those control surfaces, those buttons and switches. This is the result. Certainly very happy with that. And this is also the control panels, and these are now ready for detailing. I'll be using my wet palette from Redgrass Games. This is a very good system to use, especially for figure painting and also for fine painting like control surfaces, cockpits, etc. I'll be using this fine detailing brush from Mr. Hobby. This is a 20O brush, I think. Yes, indeed. And I now start painting these buttons and switches on the radios with a reference image nearby. Of course, this is not something you rush. Steady hand is required, as well as a pair of magnifiers. I use white gray for the numbers on that keypad, and the white gray color should give us the required effect. These are really just dots in 1/35 scale, so small brush, fine brush, and a steady hand is required. I'll be using orange for the digital display itself, and this is also painted in by hand. Next, some lights on the gunner's control panel. Different colored lights, some green, some yellow, as well as some red, and just continue painting in those details, making good use of your reference images. There you can see that's the real thing, and that is the painted control panels. And this is something I covered in a previous video before. If you need to add wiring and cables to the radio like this, it's a good idea to first drill a anchoring hole with a small drill. I'll be using this wire, 0.25mm wire from AK, as well as a handset that's been 3D printed by Shapeways, and you can see the details at the bottom of your screen there. In order to make a coiled handset wire, I use a hypodermic needle. Guys, again, please keep your own safety in mind. Use a new needle. You will find this in pharmacies or drugstores, as my American friends would say. The procedure is very simple. Simply wrap the wire around this needle, taking care not to get the needle stuck in your finger. And once you're done, this is the result, a perfectly coiled handset wire for your 35 scale radio. The handset is glued in place with a little bit of gel type super glue, and of course everything needs to be painted black, and that I do with my airbrush. I also need to paint the radio components inside the turret. This is supplied with a kit, and to do the cabling there I used the 0.5mm cable from Tamiya. To scratch build the heavy duty connectors, the metal connectors, I used some rod styrene and small little pieces of that rod works perfectly as connectors, as you can see there. They of course have been painted steel. There you go. Simply add the wiring with some gel type super glue. Very small precision type work. That is the result. Certainly very happy with that. And this is now ready to go into the turret. The back of the bulkhead has a storage pocket, and the kit part needed some additional detail. So I added a MRE bag and a pair of Steiner binoculars from an old Tamiya kit. And there's some more pictures of this on my Instagram if you are interested how I did that. Guys, and this is the state of progress thus far. The interior is basically done. All the seats, the instrumentation, all the fine detail is in there. And I'm ready now to move on to first the ammunition and then closing up the turret of the M1 Abrams. These are all the colors that I used, available from all good hobby shops. Of course, you can use your own colors. These are the ones that I found to be effective for this build. And as always, if you're interested in following the progress of this build, do follow me on Instagram. I post regular updates there, and you'll be able to follow this build step by step as I proceed through it. Thank you for watching this video, and looking forward to seeing everyone in the next one.